10,000 people packed into a stadium in Toronto for a second-round match. Not a final. Not a Grand Slam. A Wednesday night, round 2. And the chair umpire had to stop play and ask the crowd for quiet, not once, but over and over again, because a wall of Philippine flags was making so much noise that officials could not get the players to settle in and serve. Somewhere in that crowd was a grown man in an inflatable dinosaur costume, screaming his lungs out for a 20-year-old ranked 25th in the world. And by the time you finish this video, you are going to understand exactly why that stadium sold out in 30 minutes, and it has almost nothing to do with tennis. Because here's the part that should stop you cold. 12 months earlier, in that exact same tournament, in that exact same city, this player lost in the first round and went home to silence. No sellout. No flags. No waiting list. And in the entire history of women's professional tennis, going back over 50 years, a country of 115 million people had never produced a single WTA champion. Not one. So how does a nation with no tennis tradition, no pipeline, no precedent, suddenly fill a 10,000-seat stadium faster than most people can order dinner? Something has been building quietly for years, in places nobody was watching, and it finally broke the surface in the last 7 days. Stick with me, because the answer is not what the highlight clips are showing you. Before we go further, if you're new here, subscribe now, not for me, but because this story is still writing itself in real time, and if you walk away now you're going to miss the next chapter before it even airs. Let's start with what it actually cost to get here, because you cannot understand Toronto without understanding the 15 years before it. Alexandra Eala was born in Quezon City in 2005. If you grew up in the Philippines, you already know the sports hierarchy. Basketball is a religion. Boxing is a national inheritance. Tennis sits far down the list, in a country with no domestic tour worth the name and no proof it was even possible. At 13 years old, Eala got on a plane by herself to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, thousands of miles from home, in a country where she didn't speak the language, chasing a career her homeland had never produced. Her mother was a competitive swimmer, her older brother played college tennis in the United States. This was a family that understood exactly what that sacrifice would cost, and they sent her anyway. Here's why that detail matters more than you think. There are roughly 10 million Filipinos living outside the Philippines right now, nurses in Chicago, engineers in Dubai, seafarers on ships in every ocean, caregivers in Toronto. Families who packed a suitcase in their 20s and moved somewhere nobody knew their name, so someone back home could have a better life. When those people watch a 13-year-old fly alone to Spain to chase something her country had never done, they're not watching a sports story. They're watching their own life, with a tennis racket in it. If you've ever been the one who left, or the one who watched someone leave, drop the name of your city in the comments right now. I want to see exactly how far this reaches. And if you want to keep following where this goes, subscribe, because what happens over the next 3 weeks is going to be worth watching live. Now here's the uncomfortable part, because for years, this looked like it might not be enough. In January of this year, at the Australian Open, an entire nation stayed up past midnight to watch Eala's first ever Grand Slam main draw match. She won the opening set 6-0 against American Alicia Parks. At that point in professional tennis, that match is basically over. Then it fell apart. Parks won the second set 6-3, then the third 6-2. Final score, love 6, 6-3, 6-2. First round. Flight home. 12 straight games of dominance, followed by 15 of the last 21 lost. Not a fluke. A pattern. That pattern kept repeating through the spring, big leads that slipped away, statement wins over ranked opponents undercut by collapses right when the finish line came into view. And here's the question that started following her around, the one I need you to hold on to, because it comes back later. How do you keep believing in yourself when you've already proven you can beat anybody, and you still can't finish the job? Then came Miami, spring of 2025. Eala ran to the semi-finals of a top-tier event as a qualifier, beating 3 Grand Slam champions in a row, Yelena Ostapenko, Madison Keys, and the world's top-ranked player at the time, Iga Swiatek. Overnight she went from unknown to national headline. And that's exactly when the dangerous phrase started following her, flash in the pan. Because by the summer of this year, the ledger told an uncomfortable story. Wins over elite players, plenty. Career WTA singles titles, 0. Not one. And it wasn't just her ledger that was empty. In the entire history of the WTA Tour, no player from the Philippines, man or woman, had ever won a tour-level title. Every time she got close, she wasn't just carrying her own career. She was carrying 115 million people who had never once gotten to see it happen. If you told a room full of tennis analysts back then that within a few months this player would sell out a 10,000-seat stadium as a reigning champion, you'd have gotten polite silence. Then July happened. Wimbledon, third round, center court. Across the net, Iga Swiatek, the defending champion, a six-time Grand Slam winner who had obliterated her own finalist 6-love the year before. Nobody gave Eala a chance. What happened next was one of the longest, most brutal tiebreak center court had seen in years, trading match points and set points back and forth deep into extra points, eventually settling at 11 points to 9. Eala took the first set. Then she didn't just hold on to the lead in the second set, she extended it, closing it out 6-2 to become the first Filipino in the Open era to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam. Now here's the part almost every piece of tennis coverage got wrong about her for 3 straight years. Everyone called her inconsistent. Streaky. Great for a set, fades under pressure. That diagnosis was wrong. It was never about talent or consistency. It was about closing. Every previous collapse, Australia, the spring stumbles, never happened at the start. It happened right after she got in front, the exact moment the finish line came into view. What changed at Wimbledon wasn't her forehand. It was that, for the first time, she felt the pressure of a lead tightening around her, and instead of letting go, she tightened her grip on it. If that theory is right, then everything that came after Wimbledon should not look like more isolated upsets. It should look like something else entirely. It does, and the next 3 weeks prove it beyond argument. Washington, early August. Eala walks through an Olympic gold medalist in the first round, then the tournament's defending champion, then a former world number 3, then a 4-time Grand Slam champion in the semi-final. For elite scalps before she even reaches the final. Then the final itself, Jessica Pegula, the world number 3, up a set and leading in the second when rain suspends the match overnight, the exact scenario, an overnight pause to sit alone with a half-lost lead, that used to be her undoing. She comes back Monday and wins 9 straight games, closing the match 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. First WTA singles title in Philippine history. First Southeast Asian woman ever to win a WTA 500 event. That is not a player who lacks consistency. That is a player who was tested under the worst possible conditions and passed. And this is where Toronto comes back into the picture, because the demand that followed her there wasn't an accident, it was proof of something the tour hadn't fully reckoned with yet. She landed in Toronto a single day after lifting the Washington Trophy. Tournament organizers scheduled her second-round match against the very same Alicia Parks who'd beaten her in Australia, put it under the lights on Wednesday night, and the tickets were gone in 30 minutes. According to the tournament director, they'd never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have that kind of effect, ever. They even changed the food offerings around the stadium to bring in Filipino dishes for the crowd they knew was coming. And on the court, the rematch turned into redemption. Eala took the first set 6-1, dropped the second 4-6 when Parks found her range, then reset and closed it out 6-2 in the decider, winning the last 4 games in a row. Revenge complete, third round secured, and a chair umpire repeatedly asking a stadium full of flag-waving fans to please quiet down. Here's the sentence almost nobody covering this story is saying out loud, and it might be the most important one in this whole video: that crowd isn't just a reaction to her rise. It's an accelerant. Every time a session sells out in half an hour, tournaments are forced to schedule her in the biggest, loudest, most high-pressure window they have, night session, center court, full stadium, nowhere to hide. Most players spend 5 or 6 years working up to that kind of environment gradually. Eala is being dropped into it every single week, at full volume, before she's even finished her first year as a title holder. And remember what her one real weakness used to be, not talent, but handling the moment the win comes into view. Her own fans are now training that weakness out of her in real time, whether they realize it or not. So why were 10,000 people that loud on a Wednesday night for a second-round match? Because for the first time in the history of this sport, they finally had somebody to be loud for. Now here's where the timeline gets genuinely dangerous for the rest of the draw. From Toronto, the path leads into a third-round matchup against American Katie McNally, who just produced the tournament's biggest upset by knocking out a top-seeded opponent. Win that, and Eala moves into fresh territory in a 1,000-level draw for the first time in her career, with the road potentially opening up toward Coco Gauff, and beyond her, the reigning world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka. 3 weeks from now, the tour lands in New York for the US Open, the loudest crowd in tennis, in a city with one of the largest Filipino communities anywhere in North America, against a player who has just spent a month learning, under maximum pressure, how to finish. If 10,000 people showed up for a second-round match on a Wednesday night in Toronto, what exactly happens inside Arthur Ashe Stadium? I don't know the answer yet. Nobody does. But we are going to find out within a month, and I promise you, the version of this story you get from a 30-second highlight clip is going to miss everything that actually matters about it. So stay with me for this one. We're covering every match, every crowd, every score line, all the way through New York, and if you want to be there the moment it happens instead of finding out 3 days late, subscribe right now so it lands in front of you first. One last thing, because I'm genuinely curious how far this reaches. In the comments, tell me where you're watching from, not just the country, the actual city. Toronto, Jersey City, Daly City, Dubai, Manila, wherever you are right now. Let's see exactly how big this thing really is before the next match even starts.